Good evening, folks. Welcome to another edition of Crime Time with DutyRon, a retired New York City police detective with 20 plus years of law enforcement. And guys, if you like all things true crime related from a police perspective, hit the subscribe button and hit that notification bell so you will get all things DutyRon when I go live or upload another video. I want to say a special thank you before we get started to my Patreon supporters, the channel members, the subscribers, the folks who positively interact down below in the comment section and here during the live chat. You guys are an intricate part of making this community great. And I want to just give thanks and praise to all of you guys. Tip my cap, the Equusearch hat, courtesy of Dave Rader. And I want to just say thank you. I give thanks and praise to all of you who positively interact here. Again, it's so important to this community to have positivity and have a place where you can put your comments. You can use the comment section down below. You can use the live chat. The live streams are about live interactive chat. Tonight's live stream is going to be an educational one. I promised that I would bring on a search and rescue canine handler. And tonight I have three special guests, two who you are all familiar with, Dave Rader, the director of Midwest EquuSearch, and his search coordinator, Twila. I have both of them here, but I do have a really special guest. His name is Brian Smith, and he is part of the Oklahoma Search and Rescue Council. He's the search coordinator. I'm going to bring him on in a few minutes, and we're going to talk everything about the search for Summer Wells, the dogs that were involved in it, and the capabilities of these wonderful animals. These dogs are not only loving pets and parts of our family, they're out there saving lives and rescuing people daily across our country, across the world for that matter. So again, I want to say quickly hello to everyone in the chat. We're not going to do a roll call as of right now because I want you guys to get the most that you can out of the guests that we have. But first, I'm going to play a quick piece of media. This is just going to give you an example. It's just an example of what a bloodhound can do. And this is a piece that I think is important for you guys to see because it does circle into the Summer Wells search. And then we're going to have at the end of the video a Q&A with Dave Rader, Twila, and our special guest, Brian Smith. So we'll do about 15 minutes of a Q&A. And if you're not in my Discord group yet, make sure you get in there. And if you are in that group, put messages, questions for this live stream in the Discord group. All right. And I'll be checking on that towards the end of this live stream. But right now, without further ado, I'm going to play this video. It's only 4 minutes long, so check it out.
They get on the chase and try to track someone through the woods.
Yeah, they often save the day, don't they? Do we use bloodhounds like that here in Arizona? The answer is yes, and Troy Hayden found out firsthand how they get their man.
And that's kind of how this story started. We didn't see bloodhounds very often out here in the desert. We wondered, do we have them here? And the answer is yes. And soon after, I found myself running through the desert, being tracked by them. We did this out near the Salt River, northeast of the valley. So here's Phoenix. We kind of went out here right along the Salt River. It's an area that's probably familiar to a lot of people who go out tubing, and I'll put it in 3D and show it to you here. There's a parking area here, and so what I did was acted kind of like a fugitive. Started here in the parking lot, ran over a little bit of this, the sand, and then went through the water a little bit and ended up out here in the desert. The question is, could the dogs find me? All right, I've moved away from the river, and I'm in an area that's full of trees and brush. I need to find a spot to hide, or a spot to try to hide from her. This is Millie, a Maricopa County Sheriff's Office bloodhound.
Find them.
Her nose is put to a variety of uses,
Find them.
and it's amazing.
It's pretty close to 10,000 times stronger than the average human. And they're sniffing with their ears and their nose, and their saliva keeps that smell close enough to them so they can gather it up and keep on the scent trail.
Today, her job is to track me out into the desert.
These are disc gauze pads, and I'm going to have you kind of wipe those on you. You're going to get the skin, the oils from you, and then we're going to place it into a bag so no other scents will actually contaminate it.
Find them.
What exactly is Millie smelling?
Good girl.
My skin cells.
There's millions of them that are being released at any one time. If you were to have a special camera, you'd actually see kind of like an umbrella where all the skin cells will fall on and go into the ground.
And that's what the dog is smelling.
Right.
Good girl.
So without ever seeing me at all, Millie is using that material I rubbed on my skin for a scent and is going to try to find me. I take off into the desert. It's amazing to think that just skin cells coming off of me are enough for the dog to smell and track where I am.
Find them.
I'm walking over some water now. See if the dog can track me through this, the Salt River.
Where is he? Find them.
I'm moving at a slow jog over rocks and sand down towards the Salt River. I'm gonna find my way back here and hide under a tree the way somebody who might be running from police or sheriff's deputies would.
Find them, girl. This is a natural ability that bloodhounds have. This is not something we really instill in them. This is something we just define for them.
About 10, 15 minutes out here into the desert, and I've got my spot underneath this mesquite tree, and now I just sit here and hide and wait.
Go. Find them.
Millie and 2 other bloodhounds with the sheriff's office do all sorts of work like this.
Where's he at?
They've been out on a number of searches so far this year.
Lost children, older people with Alzheimer's and things like that, suicide people, people who run from accidents, people that escape.
And today, it's me. Fortunately, unlike police dogs, bloodhounds won't bite who they're after. Oh, you found me. You found me. I'm the guy. I'm the guy. And they're very nice when they find you. They don't bite you.
That was surprising. They don't signal to the handler at all. They just kind of
They go right at you. But the thing that blew my mind is that we're shedding all these skin cells, and the skin cells come down and they kind of pop when they hit the ground, and they let off that smell, and that's what they find.
Well, I choose to look at you as just somebody who's lost, not a fugitive, not somebody who's done anything wrong.
That's nice.
I like the idea that they can go after somebody who runs from the scene of an accident, because we see that all the time.
Right.
All
and
the time.
They say in one instance, somebody jumped out of an accident. They went down the road, and all of a sudden, the dog just lost the scent. And they couldn't figure it out. And they got up to the road and found out later on they jumped into a vehicle and took off. And that's why the dog lost it.
Very interesting.
But I want to thank the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office for bringing us out.
So they've got the scent dogs.
So this was a good example of one bloodhound, the way they're being used over in Arizona, the Maricopa County Sheriff's Department. There's so many agencies across the country that have canines in their within their agency, like the NYPD, the New York State Police, and there's so much for me to show you guys, but I don't want to keep my guests waiting. First, I want to introduce to you guys, he is a return visitor to the show. He is the director of EquuSearch Midwest, the Ohio chapter. Dave Rader, thank you for joining, and thank you for taking out the time of your busy schedule to be here. It's always a pleasure.
Absolutely. My pleasure once again, Ron. Absolutely.
Thank you. And I want to just also, before we begin, I want to just say thank you for the friendship that we have developed in such a short time. It seems like we speak almost every day, Dave, and it's always an honor, a pleasure to get your feedback and your input. And again, me and Bill Cannon and the whole team on this end in New York, we're just honored to be a part of EquuSearch.
And the feeling is mutual with you and Bill and Phil and Joe. Again, this has been a short, since we've met each other, but it seems like, again, you hit the nail on the head. It just seems like a damn lifetime.
Yeah, we seem like high school buddies, and again, I got a couple of maybe years on you, but we're from that same era. You know what I mean? Yep. We know each other well.
Yep.
I'd like to also introduce quickly the director of the Oklahoma Search and Rescue Council. He is kind enough to be here with us tonight. He does all kinds of great work. He's worked alongside you on some of your cases. I just want to introduce quickly Brian Smith. Thank you, Brian, for being here. You got to undo the mic, unmute your mic. I can't do it for you. Up there, you did it. Top. Yeah, there you go. Brian, welcome to the.
Hey, Brian.
Hey, it's a pleasure to have you, Brian. Again, we have also, it's the trifecta. We have to get in a female in here, and Dave's director of the director of search and rescue is Twila Cisco. Everybody knows her, and she is a fan favorite of the DutyRon Crime Time channel. Twila, welcome.
Hey.
Hi. Hey, good to have you. Thank you for taking out your time. I know you got a lot of things going on down there in Alabama, so appreciate you coming and spending some time with us here tonight. Quickly, Brian, if you could, would you just let everybody know what it is that you do at the Search and Rescue Council? A lot of my fans are waiting for this all day long. So if you could just give them just a little synopsis of what your organization does.
Absolutely. So what we do is with the Search and Rescue Council, we advocate for all the volunteer search and rescue teams in the state of Oklahoma. We do things to get laws changed, to make it easier for us to do our jobs, to advocate for training with law enforcement agencies. We train the Oklahoma City Police Department on a regular basis in search and rescue tactics and techniques and things like that. So, and then that's, of course, our fundraising arm where we raise funds for all of the volunteer search and rescue teams in the state.
It's an excellent organization, and I looked a little bit into what you guys do, and I'm going to link down below in the description ways to support these organizations. They all work for free. They don't really charge. They don't charge the organizations or law enforcement agencies that they go out and do their searches on. Just like Equusearch, they don't get a bill at the end of it. And we talked about the budget constraints down in Hawkins County and the struggles that they are going through with trying to pay for these extra searches. When Dave Rader went down there in the beginning and then came back just in July on the 24th, there was no bill handed to the Hawkins County sheriffs or anybody out in that county. Correct, Bill? Dave?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, we're at no charge to the families, or we're at no charge to any law enforcement agency that we work under.
Hey, quickly, I'd like to just address a few quick things with some of the people in the chat before I get into Brian and talking about his dogs and the things that they do over there. There's been some questions that have come in about Don Wells contacting you. I just wanted to clear the air quickly. If you could just let my audience and the viewing folks, have you had communications with Don, and did he reach out to you, or did you reach out to him?
No, we, myself and Don have spoken several different times. As far as it was a good conversation. You know, there was a little snafu there in the beginning, and we've rectified that. We've moved forward. We've talked extensively about it. We understand each other, and everything right now with myself and Don is status quo. And again, I've told him on several occasions, every time that I've spoken with him, the most important thing that we're trying to do is bring his daughter home. And that's right now, that's our main objective. Everything else will play out in due time.
And, you know, and rightfully so, that should be what the main objective is. But it was just a little bit of confusion, some folks, because there's been, he's been all over the internet and doing a lot of interviews and things of that nature. And people didn't believe that there was a communication line with you and him and how it started. So I'm glad that you were able to clear that up for the people who are following this case closely. Again, Equusearch Midwest is ready, willing, and able to come into any location where they're going to give them permission to. Can you talk just a little bit about some of your communications with the Hawkins County Sheriff, if you care to?
Yeah, I mean, as far as I did not speak to Sheriff Lawson. I did speak with his second in charge. We had a good conversation. He knew what we were all about. He knew exactly what we were trying to accomplish for them. He was very appreciative. There was no hard feelings as far as us coming down there the last time. He was very appreciative of what we're trying to do. And right now, the lines of communication are still open, and that if they get a direction through the investigation, at that point in time, as I've told Twila, and she can second this, we're ready to go. I mean, this is down in her state. She initiated this. She's an intricate part of this, and when we're ready to roll, or I should say, when we get the green light to come back down to cover areas, we'll be right there ready to go.
Twila, do you have anything to add into this conversation? Dave was saying that you had gotten the ball rolling initially for this. This is near and dear to your heart for a couple of reasons, right?
It is. My daughter has a swimsuit, and now I realize my daughter has not only a swimsuit, but different types of clothing that I've seen pictures of Summer in. And I'm a mama, and I have tons and tons of kids that hang around me, and it's very close to my heart. It really is. And I'm with Dave. I agree 100%. I'm ready. When they're ready for us to come back, I'd stop everything that I'm doing, including my mother duties, to go back down there to see what we can do to try to bring Summer home.
You know, and it's funny, I have pictures of you that you had sent to me of you searching on another case with some dogs that had gotten hit along a river's bank, and it was like a muddy, mucky little kind of creek. And you had said to me, I was, that day we searched and it was a negative result, but I had mud and dirt in places I never knew I could get mud and dirt.
I was under the ground where they were standing on top of it, and I was like, I'm not going to say what I was saying, but it was okay.
If I have your permission, I would like to show that picture eventually. You sent me full photos. So let me get back into it with Brian. Brian, I most of the folks that are here, they want to hear about some of the capabilities of the various different dogs, bloodhounds, cadaver dogs, search dogs. Could you just walk our viewers through some of the dogs that you've worked with and what the capabilities are?
Absolutely. So basically you have three different types of search dogs. You'll have search dogs that are cadaver recovery, and then you have live find dogs. And in your live find dogs, you'll have two categories, what we call scent specific and non-scent specific. So on your scent specific dogs, it's kind of like an example that you showed in the video. That dog takes a scent of a known person and tracks that scent all the way through to the end of the track. Non-scent specific canine is a canine that will go out into an area and find any living human that might be out there.
All righty. And can you explain for the audience what a cadaver dog does and what his or her capabilities are, and then break down the difference between that and a bloodhound?
Sure. So on a cadaver dog, they are introduced to the odor of human decomposition, and then they are trained to find that odor and to give their handlers an alert when they're on the source of the odor. And, you know, while the dog does a lot of the work, a big part of what we do is actually learning how to speak dog and understand our dog's behavior so that we can tell we're getting close, we're way far away, my dog's not having any interest in anything. It's all about watching the dog's behavior and how they're reacting and what they're doing to know that, are we on the right track? Are we in the right path? Even with the handler that you showed on the video, it's the same thing. He knows when his dog is working, when his dog is in scent and out of scent, whether his dog is lingering maybe at a scent pool. If the guy who they were tracking, if he stops and stood somewhere for a minute while he was doing that video and then kept going, and the dog showing a real heavy interest in that area, that's because his scent has pooled in that area, and that's why the dog is showing extra interest. But yeah, it's, you know, like they said, the dog's nose is 10,000 times more capable than our own and can distinguish the differences in odors that are so minute we wouldn't even know it. For example, one of the things we train our cadaver dogs on, or I should say we proof our cadaver dogs off of, is rotten meat and rotten animal carcasses. Right. So if you were walking along, everybody smelled a dead animal. Everybody knows what the smell of death smells like. But our dogs can actually discern, is that animal or human, and decide whether or not they want to leave that and keep working or give the alert, because that is the odor that we're looking for.
Excellent. And isn't it true that there is certain limitations to what these dogs can and can't do? In other words, they have certain working man hours, if you will. In other words, you can't just work a dog for 3 hours straight. They get tired just like we do, or they kind of stop working. You kind of touched on that a little bit, right?
Sure. So, yeah, absolutely. You have to think of these canines like professional athletes. They condition and they train all the time. We require everybody on our team to train at a minimum of 16 hours a month to maintain their certifications and standing on the team. Oh, hey, Lucas.
I'm gonna play this as you talk. I'm not gonna
Okay,
play
sure,
the
no
sound
problem.
with it, but this is gonna be for the viewers. This is the Lucas Hernandez search, March 3rd through the 4th of 2018. This
Yeah,
is
I was
on
there.
this is on the page, and as Brian continues to talk, we're gonna let this play in the background. As you see, there's Texas EquuSearch. There's Tim Miller there. I don't see Dave Rader, but I see.
I was there.
Okay, but okay, let's let this play. Sorry, Dave.
That's right.
So anyway, I kind of forgot where I was at, but when we, using the cadaver dogs to distinguish, in a lot of situations, we may even be searchers out there in the wilderness like that, and they come across a small bone, and that bone, can't really be identified by eye. Maybe it's broken, maybe something's wrong with it, and that bone will hold up the whole search until we can get a dog to come in there and identify that and classify it human, non-human, so that we can keep going. Is it evidence? Is it not evidence? And to keep moving.
Right. Good points. And I'm sorry that I broke up your train of thought and concentration. But as I play this, I see a whole integration of so many different things, including drones.
Yeah, that's my drone operator and our drone right there.
Talk about some of that capability that you have with the drones. What's attached to that? Is it just a camera or is there sonar? Because we have a special guest coming in at the end of the week, hopefully, and he's from Texas and he does some great stuff with Dave and the crew here. So we're going to have a special guest talk just about drones. But what type of capabilities do you have on this one, Brian?
On that particular drone, it has a camera. That was several years ago, and we've upgraded its capabilities since then. And then the other thing that we have with that drone is just tons of batteries. We have enough batteries to fly that drone all day without recharging anything if we had to.
Amazing. It's
So,
great technology.
I'm sorry?
It said it's great technology. It gives you eyes where you would never be able to get them, providing
Absolutely.
you don't.
So he can get up. In this situation, what we were doing is tracking along the edge of the woods, and we were looking into the wood line. Because, a lot of the times in those situations, if somebody dumps a body in the woods, very rarely do they go way into the woods. Most of the time, it's just inside. It's right inside the wood line, just out of sight. And we were using the drone to kind of get down in there and peer along the edge of the wood line. There I am. Huh.
Let's put that back.
So,
this was 2018, right?
Yeah.
So there's the Texas EquuSearch Command Center banner. That's a great photo op in front of that. Dave, you want to talk a little bit about the some of the stuff that you have done with Brian, some of the searches, and then we're going to get back onto Summer Wells, and we're going to talk about some of the searches that were done with the dogs. I know you and Twila have some knowledge of what was done there, and we'll get back into it. But what did you work with Brian? Some cases that you were on with him.
The one that you actually just mentioned, the Lucas Hernandez, that was in Kansas, and that was, I believe he was 5 years old, if I'm not mistaken. Wasn't he, Brian?
Yeah, he's a 5-year-old little boy.
Yeah, and Brian again, he the time that I really worked with and spent a lot of time with him was for the case down there in Tennessee with Baby Joe Clyde Daniels. Brian and his team came in there. We had 500 people on one street down in Dixon, Tennessee. And I'll tell you, Brian was very instrumental as far as on how he conducts his searches and the team that he was leading. Anytime that Brian is on scene, we communicate very well. but I don't have to worry about Brian. We tell each other what we're going to do, and he goes and he does it, and then we move on. So again, Brian is a very good fresh breath of fresh air when it comes to his capabilities and his leadership in the search and recovery world. So it's always been an honor to work side by side with Brian and his crew. That's for sure.
And it's a great thing when everything works seamlessly, when it's like almost like one hand washing the other, and you just the continuity is perfect. Brian, could you tell us a little bit about this scene, what we're looking at here?
So that is a house that was assigned to my strike team to go in and search and clear, and walk away with a high percentage of probability saying that Lucas was not on that property. It was a property that was in. What we did with that search is we knew that the suspect had driven and had turned her phone off and had driven in her car and then turned her phone back on. We knew where she left from. We knew where she ended up. We didn't know where she went in between. So we had to extrapolate that into a giant circle around Wichita. And then Dave and Tim, I know, spent hours on the computer, on the mapping software, identifying areas like this that, hey, she could have pulled on this property, dumped that body, and been gone in a few minutes and still been back. You know what I mean? It fit into the timeline. And so that's what they did is they identified these areas, and we went out and searched them and cleared them and came back in and got another assignment.
Amazing. And folks, the reason I'm bringing this up is because I want you guys to see some of the work that Brian has done with Dave and his crew and Tim Miller. There's a photo op again. I think this is Brian here, Tim, and some of the other folks on the team. It's something that you guys have to understand. This is all volunteer work. These guys are not getting paid for this. So this is time away from their families for one reason. They do it to bring the missing home. And I can't say enough good about you guys and the wonderful work that you're doing. Between the three of yous, I feel like I am honored to be here with you guys, because this kind of work most people shy away from, and they don't even want to try to do this because of the fear of finding either a dead human body or finding somebody or getting into a situation with a bad guy, because this is dangerous work. So the jobs that you guys do sometimes are thankless and nameless people behind it, because you guys don't look for accolades or attention. You don't look for pats on the back. But I have to say, police department work, the police job that I had, it was the same thing. You basically were a villain until you were needed. And then when you were needed, you would just go on to the next job. So, I mean, listen, you guys, again, doing God's work. And I told Twila, I told Dave, and I told Brian this, I have a lot of respect for you guys and what you do. So thank you for everything that you do. Let's get into Summer Wells. Now, we know that cadaver dogs and search dogs were there. Twila, I want to lean on you a little bit for this. There she goes. She's just, her eyebrows perked up. Ooh, me. Twila, can you talk to a little bit about, I know you guys left. You guys came and they were already gone, but I know that you have a little bit of intel on some of the dogs and some of the folks that were out there. You talked to me about the two women that we were trying to get on here, and that didn't work out. But talk about a little bit of what your conversations with them were about the search at the property, because everybody's interested in that.
Pretty much they went over there with their dogs. I do believe that they mentioned that they used both Cadaver and the live find. They didn't go into details of, if they found anything or anything like that, but they, were on that property and made sure that that property was cleared with both types of dogs while they were there.
Okay, so property cleared with both types of dogs, but any word on any kind of hits or where hits went or where it led to that type of situation? Because everybody is getting lots of different information, and I just would like to try to clear that up if at all possible. If it's not possible, then we move on.
I didn't get any of that information from the ones that I spoke with. I didn't get any information. Everything that they did, they told me that they turned it in to law enforcement, but they didn't give me any information like that.
Okay. And it's important that law enforcement keeps that kind of close to the vest because it is part of the investigation. Dave, anything that you could piggyback on with this?
No, I mean, like I said, when we were down there, I mean, there was, I can't even tell you how many different dog teams that there was from different parts of the country. And again, we thought that we had a specific spot, and it did, but it turned out to be a false positive hit. So with that being said, I mean, again, not only was the dogs being used in both scenarios with live and also with Cadaver, but then we were following up with different teams behind that. So it was like a checks and balances between the dogs, the dog teams and the foot searchers. So and again, we still have this little girl still missing. So
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I wanted to, if I could, clear up some of the misconceptions or some of the things that might be going on out there. But again, if we don't have it, there's nothing to talk about. And law enforcement is doing the best that they can to try to keep this investigation, the integrity of it solid. So we have to be patient with what they have. Again, everybody wants to know if you were called on and EquuSearch was called on, would you come back down into Hawkins County? And I think we know what the answer to that is, right?
Absolutely.
I'm with Twila on that. I mean, you know, when the search coordinator is down there and she's willing to sit there and she said it out of her own mouth, she would stop her motherly duties to go and find this little girl. That says, that shows you character and what type of individuals that we are to go and just drop everything to do what we feel is necessary. So,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, and that's some of the great history that you have with EquuSearch and law enforcement. It's such a great relationship and a great track record where you're keeping things that need to be kept quiet to yourselves, and at the same time, when you get that information, your one and only focus is on bringing home the missing. So again, EquuSearch is not involved in trying to solve cases. We saw our leader Tim Miller a couple of times crack some people, but he is not going and putting handcuffs on somebody. He is just trying to bring home the missing, and that case was with a little boy recently. He did a phenomenal job of just going at it and having a private conversation that was not put over the internet until it was done, said, and wrapped. So kudos to Tim on that. But again, the job of these guys are to go out there and bring home the missing alive, or bring them home for a proper burial. I want to just go quickly to you, Brian. I know you got some dogs there. Some of the folks, your two dogs, I know that everybody here is chomping at the bit to see what you got. You want to introduce your crew?
Sure. Hang on.
All right, here we
Mila,
go. It's going on remote.
Up. Come on, Siri. Come on. Let's go. Come up. Hurry. Up. Come on. Let's go. Well, there's Mila.
And that's
She's
Mila?
got her sleeve on. Mila, Mila. Sit.
Mila.
Say hi.
And Mila, how old is Mila?
Mila is 2.5 years old. She is a long-haired Dutch Shepherd, and she is a Cadaver recovery. They're a little skittish right now. We've got a thunderstorm going on, and so they're part of their training is when they hear gunshots and loud noises is to come sit at my feet, and so that's what she's trying to do is I get up and move, and she's trying to come sit at my feet and stay close. And then Siri, come. This is Siri. And you say, hi, there it is. And she is a 2-year-old German Shepherd, and she is our lifeline recovery. So what she does is kind of like I mentioned, she is a non-scent specific area search lifeline canine. So if, in a situation where we have a missing person, what we use her for is deployed in storm situations. That's why I have two, one live, one recovery. so that in the aftermath of a tornado or something like that, we can quickly go through neighborhoods, find living people, find deceased people, and get them recovered, get them to the hospital, whatever the case may be, in a hurry.
Wow. And those are beautiful dogs, and they're doing God's work. They're out there doing the best that they can. And at that young age, how long can these dogs continue to work? Is there like, is there kind of like a time? Like I heard one of the bloodhound handlers said only a couple of years. Is that true that the dogs have a short
So,
time?
I mean, it really varies per dog. Again, what I was talking about earlier is you have to think of these dogs like professional athletes. Some days they come out and they are on fire that day. They're hitting every pass, they're hitting every touchdown, they're doing everything perfect. Other times they come out, they have bad days and they're not hitting everything perfect. Things aren't in sync. You know what I mean? And then on top of that, as the handler, your dog is always feeding off of your energy. So if I'm having a bad day, I won't even go train with my dog because my bad energy is just going to reflect off into her. She's
Right.
going to be reading her cues from me on that. And it's not, if everything's not in sync, then it's not, it's just not
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, everything has to be working. All cylinders have to be firing together. Dave, I wanted to ask you quickly. A lot of people in the chat are asking this question, and I got to ask it because, again, I kind of know the answer to it already. But when it comes to these type of searches, say a summer well search, all right, you got volunteers that come in with the dogs, like Brian, like some of the other folks that you work with. Are they going with law enforcement handlers first on properties, like working from inside the house out? I'm talking now summer wells. Would you think Hawkins County sheriffs, I would imagine that they would utilize the police dogs first if they had them and then go with outside, or how does that work? Just give me an idea of how that goes.
Usually they don't have, they'll have a live track, but I'm not sure that most law enforcement agencies have cadaver dogs. I think what law enforcement agencies do is they'll call out like a group that's proven like with Brian's group. And when they have a certain scenario, they reach out to teams like that. That's their first call. And they're going to get to go into the house and around the property first. And then what they'll do, and correct me if I'm wrong, Brian, but what they'll do is they'll maybe bring in a second set of dogs, maybe either from part of your team or even bring in another team for checks and balances. So that's kind of what Summer Wells was doing, is that they were utilizing every single dog that they could, but they was doing it in a manner of when one would get finished, and as Brian hit on it, as the dogs got tired, then they would send another set of dogs in just for checks and balances.
Absolutely. So yeah, what we call operational periods. You can't work these dogs for very long, 3 hours at a time, sometimes 4 hours. After that, you've got to let the dog rest. You've got to let them get water. Because again, just like an athlete, if they're tired, they're not working at their optimal performance. So that's why you have multiple dogs, multiple teams. One dog comes in, clears an area. The next dog comes in and takes off where that dog left off, and just keep working. And that's why everybody needs to have, similar training standards. All the dog teams that are out there working, need to have communication and understanding with each other, so that it's just like a relay race where one dog leaves off, they pass that torch on to the next K9, and the next K9 just keeps it going, so that at the end of the day, even if we don't find who we're looking for, we can say with a high percentage of probability that they are not in this area that we just searched. And knock on wood, neither Dave nor myself have ever had somebody be found in an area that we have called clear.
Well, that's amazing. That's a great track record there too. I want to just say quickly before I forget, I want to say thank you to Denise Spalding. This is a second $100 chat that she sent in, and she say, may God bless Tim Miller and his journey. Denise, thank you for the 2 separate $100 donations. I'll be dividing that up between these 2 organizations here today. The Oklahoma Search and Rescue Council and EquuSearch Midwest. So thank you for that. To the folks who have given the super chats during the conversation going on, I acknowledged it visually, but I didn't say it. But I want to say quickly to everybody, including Joe Murray and all the forgotten that have given super chats. I just didn't want to break up the continuity of the conversation. So forgive me for that, but it is always very much appreciated and always just never necessary, but always appreciated. And I want to just say thank you on behalf of both of my guests here for all the super chats that come in tonight. Retired Sergeant Melinda, thank you for that as well. She's saying, love each and every one of you. Stay safe and healthy, and we shall continue the mission. Amen to that, sister.
Amen to that.
Yeah. So Brian, Dave, quickly, I want to ask a question, and I think, Brian, this will probably be for you. If, and I know that you're familiar with the Summer Wells case, right? Have you been following it from Oklahoma?
So I have been keeping abreast of it, but I have not been following, all the details, all the ins and outs, all the rumors online, because potentially it's still a chance that we may come there to search. And if we do come there to search, we like to come with an open mind, that we don't have any bias of our own. We can come in, we can get a job, we can get an area, and we can go in and focus on that area without having all the rest of everything else running around.
Excellent. And I'm glad you brought that up, because that just shows the integrity of what your organization has. And really the mission statement is to, lost is not alone, but to find the lost and bring them home.
Right.
It almost kind of rhymes, but it is truth right there. So there's a testament of what Brian just said. But I want to just shoot this out there to you. If you're on a property that has multiple dogs, stray dogs that are running around on a property, and you come up on an assignment, what type of obstacle does that create for you as a handler? If, say, there are packs of dogs or multiple dogs on a property, would you want to clear them first? I'll let you take it. What would be your take on that, and how would you go about that?
Well, again, all of those situations, it just depends on how those dogs are acting. If they're acting aggressive and threatening, then we'll have to pull our dogs out of that situation and get them in crates, get them in cars, and get them safe. Because, you could spend anywhere from $10,000 to $50,000 training a good cadaver dog. When you take the time going to and from training, paying for coaching sessions, paying for equipment for your dog, and just travel expenses, all of those things add up. And we're not going to put, a $10,000 or $15,000 dog at risk, in a situation. If they were strays and wild dogs, we would absolutely have the law enforcement agency contact their animal control and come in and clear those animals from the scene, because it's just not worth the risk to our dogs.
Yeah, I kind of thought that, because this is pertaining to this case. There was quite a few dogs on that property, and it's well known. I feel strongly that the local sheriff there probably had to get animal control to round up or just shoo away these dogs before, like you said, the working team can come in there. Because, again, the amount of time, money, and expense that's put into the training, you don't want them to get involved in a fight with an aggressive dog. So more than likely in this situation, we would have that property cleared by law enforcement or by animal control, and then your working dogs would go in there only after you felt it was safe. Correct?
Correct.
Excellent. Thank you. All right, Twila's back. Were you completing hair and makeup, Twila? What was happening over there?
Right. Yeah, I ran away for a second.
It's okay. It's all right. We love that you're back. If you guys don't mind, I'd like to look at the chat. Police Off the Cuff is here. Hello, Sergeant Bill Cannon. Thank you. You did a great job on your September 11th broadcast tonight. I appreciate that, and look for him. And he's got broadcasts every night this week going straight forward. So if you're not subscribed to Police Off the Cuff, definitely check out Sergeant Bill Cannon, Phil, straight out of Brooklyn, Grimaldi, and Joe Murray, who's here, also a criminal defense attorney, retired police officer, a friend of all of the channels here. So thank you. Again, there's so many questions about the dogs and about the capabilities of the dogs. A bloodhound, we just saw the media that I shared. they have what, 1,000 times the scent of a human?
10,000. 10,000.
Okay. So I shortchanged them by 9 G's. So 10,000 times the scent of a human being. What are the capabilities of the bloodhounds? If there was a body, or if somebody was hidden behind a wall or buried in cement, talk about what a bloodhound could do, or a cadaver dog, or what's the restrictions?
Really, there's just not a lot of restrictions. There's a lot of factors that go into every search: what the temperature is, time of day, morning, terrain. Is it uphill? Is it downhill? Is it woods? Is it open? Is it grass? I mean, there's a lot of things that go into what we call scent theory. And so that's what we study, is scent theory.
Talk
so
about
that
that.
we understand what the scent might be doing, so that we can make sure that we're giving our dogs the best opportunity to find what they're looking for. But I mean, I couldn't give you a definitive, how far away can they smell it. I know when Mila was about 6 months old, at one of her first conferences, we were easily 100 yards from the source, and she was already smelling it where we were at before we ever got started. I could tell by her behavior that she was antsy because she was in the odor. She had the odor locked in, and she felt like she knew where it was coming from. And when I let her go, she ran straight to it. I mean, nonstop. She just went straight to the source of the odor. And like I said, it was easily 100 yards away. And,
Brian, can you talk a little bit about sense theory?
Sure. So, scent theory is having an understanding that, in the forest, in the heat of the day, that, if there's a body in there, that the forest and the trees are actually chimneying that odor up to the top of the trees and then spreading it downwind. So your dog may get into odor out here, but still be a long ways from finding the source. And when they're getting close to the source, it makes it more difficult because that odor is being drafted up through the trees. Same thing with uphill and downhill. Depending on the temperature and the time of day, that odor, those scents will travel uphill, and other times they will travel downhill, similar to like really slow flowing water almost. That scent and that odor, it travels, it pools, it flows, and obviously it moves with the wind. I know we went to a class one time. The odor of a dead body, of a decomposing body, can change the behavior of flies up to 7 miles away.
Wow. So
while we don't smell it until we're right up there on it, that odor is permeating the air everywhere.
If there was a dead human body, say behind a wall or buried underneath a property, and a dog went into that particular home, what's the chances of a search dog with the capabilities of picking up that odor if a body was actually buried underneath the foundation of a property?
So, I mean, even under the concrete, under the foundation, under the slats, in the walls, hidden inside an ice chest, even inside of, like a freezer, unless it's absolutely 100% airtight, the dogs are going to be able to get a hint of that odor, and they're going to go to the point where the odor is the strongest, and that's where they're going to give their alert.
Amazing. Thank you for that. And that clears up a lot of misconceptions in regards to certain cases that we have spoken about. And I hope everyone is listening to this and, really takes it in. How many years have you been involved in this field?
About 8 years now.
Okay, 8 years. And a lot of studying, a lot of training. Like you said, what type of training are you going through on a regular basis? Is there mandatory, or is it really?
So what we do, of course, I train with my dogs in our spare time on the weekends. We train 2 or 3, 4 hours a week, depending on the scenario that we're working. And then I also, and members of my team as well, we go and seek out training from some of the best people in the business. I train with a guy in Texas. His name is John Dwyer, and he's fantastic. One of the girls on my team, one of the girls in that picture with Tim Miller, Her name is Amanda, and her dog Cash. And they travel all over with Dr. Paul Martin, who is actually based out of Tennessee. And Dr. Paul Martin is one of the leading experts in clandestine grave and aged remains recovery.
Wow. Amazing. So it's some great training that you guys are receiving, and you service most of the state of Oklahoma, all of the state of Oklahoma. And
Absolutely. We'll work for any law enforcement agency in the state of Oklahoma. And if we have the capability, we will go out of state if our services are requested.
amazing. Absolutely amazing. I love it. I love it. Dave, quickly, I just wanted to go over with you. You know, I know you have Twila here. I want you to talk to the audience about the role that Twila plays here with you in EquuSearch Midwest, the Ohio chapter. Just let these folks know a little bit about what Twila brings to the table for you. I mean, you and I talk about her all the time, so her ears probably ring. But give the listeners what you know, how dedicated and what she does with the organization.
Twila is a tremendous asset to this organization, and you know, I can't say enough good things about Twila. Sometimes we butt heads, but I'll tell you, that's okay sometimes. You know, we keep each other honest. We make each other think, hopefully, and that's what it's all about. But Twila brings a lot to the table. You know, about a year and a half ago now, she was at a training, and her gut feeling. And there's one thing that you cannot teach, and that's gut feeling. And that's one of the one things that we had talked about at training, is that I can sit there and teach you how to do things. But the thing is that the gut feeling thing is just, you can't teach that. And she just, you know, stepped up to the plate. She's like a little sponge. She absorbs everything. And, you know, she's quite the asset. I mean, it keeps me from going down there all the time. She's taken over cases down in Alabama for me, Tennessee. You know, she goes where she can when she's needed. So she's a tremendous asset to this organization, and I can't say it enough.
You know, and I've seen some of the tough work that Twila's done, and you know, communication between her and I is pretty open as well. She's provided me with anything that I've ever asked her for, educational wise. And I got to say, Twila, you are a consummate professional. You know, not only are you the mom of the year, you are the search coordinator of the year. So I tip my cap to you and all the good work that you do. I'm honored to have you as a friend, really. So
Thank you.
Thank you so much for what you do for the nameless, faceless folks that are out there, you know. So again, I mean, most of the times you look at these search groups, and I saw what was amazing to me is when I looked at the search group down in Tennessee on the 24th of July, I saw a majority of women there. Talk about some of your people on your team. Let's hear about the work that they did down in Hawkins County.
We got some amazing men and women on the team, but I tell you what, the women that are on our team are like firecrackers, and they don't take no mess, and they mean business. They know their stuff. We have one that can identify a bone just like that. Actually, two of them, and two of them, they run the sonar. Marcy and Genova, they're the best. They've been on the team, and they're Dave's other hand. And let me tell you, we come together and we put all of our differences to the side, if there is any differences, and we get out there and we'll dig through mud, we'll sift through dirt, we'll get in water, we'll do whatever we have to do to work as a team for the reason that we're there, and that's to find the missing. And I can say we have some really, really good people on our team. Dave says we're a bunch of misfits that fit. It's like a puzzle, and all of us come together, and it makes one big picture, one big group. I love every single one of my teammates. They're the best. And if it wasn't for all them and us working together, we wouldn't be able to do this.
How badly do you guys want to find Summer Wells?
it's so bad that we can taste it. We've cried tears. You know, when our searches is over, at the end of the day, when our searches is over, it's not just like we go and do whatever. I mean, we have to unwind, and there's tears. We shed tears. We hug. At the end of the day, when we start our searches in the mornings, we hug each other, and before we leave, we hug each other. And I'm telling you, we've got good people on that team, and I wouldn't know what to do without them. And I shadowed Dave. He's taught me just about every single thing that I know, and I'm very, very grateful, because both of these men that are on this screen right here, there's no telling what they've seen. There's no telling how much sleep they lose, and they're smart. I'd like to have just a small piece of their brain, because they're good men and they know what they're doing. It's just, I don't know. I can't explain it. It's something very, very close to our heart.
They got a lot of heart. I could tell that.
Yes.
And so do you. I mean, anybody that's in this has to have a lot of heart and a lot of drive for bringing loved ones home and getting closure for families. And it takes a special person to do that. You know, I know from being an NYPD police officer in the largest police department in the United States, you know, you think you get jaded, but I never did get jaded over my 20 years. I always cared about the people who I served. I cared about the cases that I worked on. And, you know, one thing that I did do is I took some of it home, but I had a release, and it was my wife of 30 years. So thank God I have Mrs. DutyRon to lean on, because we all need to have people to talk to about these cases. And I know Dave's got a great support group with you and the ladies and the gents that are on there. And now he's got me. Can't get rid of me. I'm, you know, I'm in it for the long haul. Guys, if you don't mind, I want to switch over to we're close to the hour mark. I want to switch over to the chat. I have some stuff that Josh put in the private comments, the private chat. I'm going to ask some questions. Some of this will be pertaining to Brian, and some will be pertaining to Dave and Twila. I'll start out with one. We have about 15 questions. The first question comes from a nameless, faceless person. It's an anonymous. Do the cadaver dogs belong to EquuSearch? Question mark. Or do they pay to retain them? And number two, what is the difference from search dogs and cadaver dogs? I think we already covered that. How many times will EquuSearch go to locations before they stop searching? And where are the dogs trained, and for how long? We covered that. Would EquuSearch always use dogs in every search? Question mark. And does EquuSearch have their own handlers? So let's cover the first one. Do the cadaver dogs belong to EquuSearch? Dave?
No, they do not.
Okay. And do you pay to retain them when they come?
We do not.
Okay. Thank you for answering. We know the difference between the search dogs and cadaver. Brian handled that early on, so just refer back to the earlier part of the live stream. How many times will EquuSearch go to a location before they stop searching?
Well,
We don't stop. We continue on until we go and find what we're looking for, but we don't stop. We don't give up. We continue on.
Excellent. Excellent. So we don't stop until the mission is complete, or until you're called off by the authorities. Does EquuSearch have their own handlers? I can answer that. No. Everybody volunteers to help out. It's a team effort. So let's move along to the next question. What's the difference? Okay, we covered that already. That was all in a group text. Where do dogs get trained, and for how long? Brian, you covered that already. Thank you for that. We don't have
They
to
never stop. They never stop training.
So talk a little bit about that. How often is it trained, or is it just as much as needed?
For our purposes and for most of the handlers I know, we train weekly, every week.
Wow. And what could that training consist of? Like what we saw in the first video, somebody running out in the field, giving the scent to a dog, and somebody running out in the field and hiding a mile away or something like that.
So there's all kinds of situations like that. We have what they call hot trails. We have cold trails. We have long trails. We have short trails. The trail that you saw in the video is what we would call a hot trail. And that means the subject walked the trail, and then the dog is hot on his tail right behind him while everything is still fresh. in some situations, like what they might have done is had that guy walk and circle back around where he was close enough that somebody could pick him up and take him away, and then bring him back the next day and drop him off in that same spot and have that dog run a cold trail that's 24 hours old.
Wow.
And then as far as the cadaver dogs, what we do is we set up problems for the cadaver dogs, because a lot of what they do, they have to resolve. They have to make their own decisions. My dogs work off lead. So, you know, they don't have me constantly pulling and tugging and saying, go this way, go that way. They're free to do whatever they want to do. And it's up to me to A, keep up with them, and then B, to be able to understand that, you know, like, for example, Mila, when she's working, her tail is up and it's just doing this and it's just doing this. As soon as her tail goes down, I know that she's in odor, that she's close to finding what we're looking for. She gets real slow. She gets real deliberate. That tail goes down, and that lets me know that, hey, there's human decomp in the area. She's in odor. She smells it, and she's just trying to figure out where it is now.
So that's a distinct sign that your dog that she gives to you.
Right. And every dog is different. Every
Different.
handler is different. And that's why I say a lot of what we do, we don't really train the dogs as much as we learn how to speak their language.
This is fascinating. Thank you for that, Brian. Thank you for that info. Louisiana girl asked, I'd love to know if other dogs were on a property, does it affect tracking a person? And absolutely it does.
If the dogs are minding their own business, not necessarily. It's not a distraction for the dog. So one of the things that we do when we train is we add distractions into the environment on purpose so that we can teach the dog to ignore those distractions. One of the things that we did, we had a training at a dog park. So there were tons of dogs, but they were contained by their owners. You know, they weren't running wild. They're just out doing their own thing. And our dogs need to focus on their job and not worry about what these other dogs are doing. So it's kind of two different situations right there. In that case, you have a pack of dogs that aren't being controlled. They aren't being handled. We don't know where their owner is. And a pack of dogs behave differently than a single dog does. When you have a group of dogs acting together as a pack, they can be more vicious, more ferocious, more aggressive, because, you know, they're overpowering. You know, there's more of them than there is of you.
Right.
So the dogs aren't necessarily a distraction unless they are a threat to the dogs that we have working.
Right. So if they're aggressive, got it.
Right.
Question comes in: how fresh does a scent need to be for the dog to pick up the trail, or does weather affect their abilities?
Absolutely, weather affects the scent. Obviously, if it's wet and it's damp, all of that odor is being pressed and held down to the ground. It's not stirring up in the air, so that makes it more difficult. But I mean, there have been cases where tracking dogs have got a scent and stayed on a trail 2, 3, even 4 or 5 days later. So it just really all depends on the conditions, how things are going, you know, the person who's leaving the scent. I mean, there's just so many different factors that weigh into it. Obviously, sooner is better. We want law enforcement to call us right away so that we can get our dogs in there and get them working. But, you know, sometimes that doesn't happen. Sometimes the person doesn't get reported missing. So, you know, and that's kind of what I was talking about earlier, is you'll have your person, your hider, lay their trail and then have someone pick them up, and then they come back to that same hiding spot and we follow that old trail. We can do that a day later, 2 days later, a week later.
Right.
And it's just all about training and practice. And that's why we practice all the time.
Awesome.
So that we can give our dogs all those different situations, all those different scenarios, and know how they behave. You know what I mean? Sometimes we'll go train on a rainy day so that, you know, we can know, hey, this is what my dog is doing differently because it's wet and it's raining.
Right. Right. It makes a lot of sense, all the different conditions. All right. We have a question coming in from defense attorney Joe Murray. He's a good friend of ours. So don't be frightened by Joe Murray. He's harmless. We can always mute him at any time we want, but why would we do that? So Joe Murray says, do you guys get trained in handling evidence, or do you just immediately notify law enforcement upon discovery of evidence and they recover it for you? Anybody?
Okay, I can't speak for Dave, But all the people on my team take what we call a crime scene preservation class. And that's so that my team members understand and know what they need to do if they walk onto a scene. One of the things that we teach everybody to do is if you walk onto a scene, you found the body. So you're going to take a flag, you're going to write your name on it, and you're going to put your flag where as far as you walked into the crime scene, this is where I walked in. And then you're going to go out in your same tracks. You're going to walk out on your same path so that when the crime scene investigators come in, they can say, okay, these footprints belong to search and rescue. Here's their flag. Here's their tracks. We can rule those out. And so
you guys are shaking your head, Dave. Right?
Yeah, it's the same way. It's common sense that if you find something that you think is pertinent to that case or the body, and if you have your group, you take that group and you back out immediately. And the thing that we do not do is we do not call through the 911 system. Our chain of command is so we don't have a bunch of media to find out a lot of things. So what we'll do is we'll have them contact the search coordinator will contact myself or the search director or the search coordinator, such as Twila, and then Twila would have that detective's phone number. Then she can tell that detective, look, this is what we found. This is the location. When they come on scene, then at that point in time, they'll take over. They'll take all the names and pertinent information that they need from all of the team that was there, and then we back out and go about our business. But I have been, we do a lot of bone recoveries after the fact. And I know on Anaya Blanchard's case that instead of having the crime scene or the forensics out there just wasting time or not when they've got other things to do, they just can't pay for a guy to sit there. What we did was we were allowed to mark the evidence. We GPSed it. We then photographed it, and then we actually collected it. And at the end of the day, the coroner or the forensic guy came out and collected all of the evidence and bones that we had.
Amazing. So everything is organized and nothing is done just with recklessness. There's no reckless abandonment here. Everything is, again, crime scene preservation. Dave, I know you talked to me and Twila. You guys spoke about this. Equusearch, everybody is qualified in that, or someone from the team is there and is qualified. So again, this is no nonsense. Nobody wants to. And I got to say, I got the figures here from the last time. So I have my handy dandy notebook. This is what any good detective has, and it's a reporter's notebook. Equusearch is responsible for 400 missing people returned safely to their families. 238 plus remains of missing persons recovered and brought home. And they've never, ever compromised evidence in any investigation. And that includes investigations in Sri Lanka, Aruba, the Natalie Holloway investigation, Mexico, Jamaica, the Dominican Republic, and Nicaragua.
And Costa Rica.
1,800, Costa Rica as well. Yes, that was in my flip page here. 1,860 plus searches in 42 states and several countries outside the United States. I tip my cap and kudos to you guys. I always use that term. People hate it, and now I'll use it even more. But at the end of the day, you never, ever compromise an investigation. So that's tremendous. That is a tremendous track record, and I'm honored to be a part of Equusearch Midwest. Let me look at the chat because there's a ton of things coming in, and we're over the hour. I don't have overtime to pay Joe Murray. He's begging to come up and ask some questions. So let's keep him at bay for a little bit. And let me just look quickly at the chat. Oh, yeah. Just so everybody knows, I'm going to show quickly. These are some of the ways you could support these great organizations. And here is Equusearch Midwest's website, equusearchmidwest.org. It's linked down below. Don't forget. Here is the donation for PayPal. They are a 501c3 organization. How about you, Brian? Is your organization nonprofit?
Yeah, the Oklahoma Search and Rescue Council is a nonprofit organization.
Okay, they are linked down below in the description as a clickable link for everybody and anybody who wants to go. They're doing God's work, so I encourage everybody here. There's 2,300 people watching. Please go over and support both of these organizations. There's the Oklahoma Search and Rescue website. Here's the donation page for their PayPal. All of these donations are tax deductible at the end of the year. You're donating to a 501c3 organization. Make sure you subscribe to DutyRon on YouTube and go over to check DutyRon.com out. Chock full of information. All of these folks will be linked. And with Brian's permission, I'm going to ask Josh, our producer, to link on our website the Oklahoma organization. If you want, I'll link that up to DutyRon.com.
No problem.
Excellent. So let me just quickly scan the chat. Let's see what we got. I answered you guys answered quite a bit of questions, and I appreciate that. As far as summer wells goes, folks, I got to say this. Any of this group here, and people have asked, I've seen it several times redundantly in the chat, did Dave Rader send search dogs to the summer well search? I believe early on that EquuSearch sent in some folks to help out. Dave, do you want to talk a little bit about that early on?
No, we didn't send any dogs in. We were working under the incident command under Coop. So we were working under that platform. So we were brought in just as a resource. That was not our search to run. So we did not have anything to do with the dogs being brought in on the first go around, and where we searched the second time. To me, I don't think that there was a use for dogs. Do you, Twila? I mean, how do you feel about that?
It was a crazy mess. Now, if we do go back, I would suggest, yes, that we take dogs, which we try to do that with every case that we get, because Dave says it like, if you need a kitchen sink, he'll go to Lowe's and get it too and throw it in there. But we try to use everything that we possibly can. But this last time that we went out for our search, no, I don't think it would have been a good idea to bring the dogs, because we were in so many different. It was just, no, I don't think so.
But I remember you talking to me, and you said that there were a bunch of the two women that you were talking to me about. They were there, but they weren't representing EquuSearch, correct?
No, they're their own organization, and I'm not sure if it was the same people that called us in. I'm going to assume it was, because they were the ones that was over the search end of it, but they were there before us. And sometimes law enforcement does do that. They'll call the canines in before they call our organization, and it's all really on what law enforcement or whoever's in charge of the search end of it on how they want to handle it. But they were there before us. I seen dogs when we were there the first time, but we were never close enough, for me to see who those guys were or anything like that.
Right. And there was a ton of dogs that I saw in the media coverage in me watching. And I also saw scuba units inside a body of water. I'm not sure what body of water it was, but I got to assume that it had to do with the place where they went swimming that day. Again, there was 13 days, night and day, pretty much. I guess when daylight was ending, they would wrap it up. But that didn't mean that the helicopters couldn't fly with their infrared and all of the technology that they have there, because Trevor Hall, the young college student who made that $2,000 donation, said that he heard helicopters at night all night long, flying back and forth. So I guess, searching is dangerous once the daylight comes down, right, Dave? It's not a great thing to be out there at nighttime. A lot of
not in that terrain. I mean, that terrain was brutal enough during the damn day, let alone at night. So what they would do is they would pull us off of the search before the sun would ever go down. We would be accounted for, make sure everybody was safe, and back to the command center. Then at that point in time, they utilized the state helicopter that has FLIR at night to run their infrared. And I do believe the first 2 nights that they actually even used a medical vac helo to also search during the day. So they did utilize that and drones when they could. So, but after a while, and again, I think with when you have your special guest on as far as with the drones, I think the technology that he's going to talk about is absolutely a game changer as far as the technology that is being used right now. And Twila can actually kind of go into a little bit because she just spent last Monday with the water team, Dennis and Tammy Waters, recovering a car in Tennessee right outside of Nashville, and she can get into that. And she was absolutely amazed of what a sonar unit can see underwater. So if you want to, if she wants to go about that a little bit, or I don't know how much time you have, Ron, but
I got all night. I got all night. Twila, what do you got?
Actually, there he goes, put me on the spot again. He knows better than that. But actually, the guys that was out there with me, that I went out with Team Waters, I was able to go out. It was absolutely amazing. Actually, they've already got some videos of it on their YouTube. And the divers that was out there, they told me that you actually know them and said to actually tell you hello. And it's Chaos Divers.
Oh,
Jacob.
yeah.
Yeah, Jacob.
Great guy. Here he is. I'm going to highlight his comment. I
Yes.
love working with Twila.
Thank you. It was absolutely amazing. I was like, you know what? I want to go do this, but I'm telling you right now, all that equipment that they would wear, I would drown myself with it because it's a lot.
Wow. Yeah.
It was amazing.
I watch a lot of his stuff, and he does some great stuff along with the Ventures with Purpose and a bunch of the other guys that are out there doing God's work as well. Hey, Twila, I gotta mention this because I'm going to get a lot of crap for this. Is that a smoke detector that needs a new battery? Because
it is. I was watching the comments, but I didn't want to. It was storming here also, so that's what took me so long to get here because the power was out, and I was like, "How am I going to do this with no Wi-Fi?" And then finally, it all came back on, and since it came back on, that smoke detector, it happened before, and Dave was like, "If you don't change that freaking smoke detector." But it's not the battery. It's something with electricity where the power went off from the storm.
Well, we don't want to be scolding you, but we love you. We want you guys to be, you need your smoke detector. So.
Oh, yeah. They'll have to come fix it. Maintenance will have to come fix it. I can't mess with it. I'd blow that thing up.
All right. Cool. Dawn Marie says Twila is a rock star, is a superstar. There you go. Thank you for that. Let's look at some of these super chats. Lisa D says, amazing how all you guys go full circle. We all are family. I couldn't agree with you anymore on that one. Sure. Retired Sergeant Melinda checking in. Hey, DutyRon, can you please ask a question sent from Dawn Marie, plus to ask Brian, the amazing Sooner from Okie? Oh boy. She's talking Southern draw. I don't know what that means, but Jacob is amazing. Chaos Divers. Love you, Jacob. Chaos Divers. I don't know. I don't know what that question was that Dawn Marie asked. So she's going to have to ask it again.
All I can say to Dawn Marie is boomer, and she'll know the rest.
I'm a city slicker. I didn't know what the hell she was talking about there. So Caroline baby sends in a $20 super chat. She says, I'm here to support, listen, and learn. Thank you for all your unwavering commitment and sacrifice. Caroline baby, thank you for thanking us and them. Thank you. Let's look. Boomer Sooner. Okay, there's a lot of everyone's chiming in here. Let me highlight that. Ramblin' Rome says Boomer Sooner. I don't know. Is this code? Is this some kind of code word or something?
So it's a secret code for Okies to find each other when we're out of state. I can go anywhere in the United States. I can go in a restaurant and yell Boomer, and every Okie in the crowd will return with Sooner, and then we'll all know that each other is there.
I love it. I learned something new tonight. I didn't even know that. That goes to show you what kind of bubble I'm living in. 57 years old, so I'm an old timer. I don't know this stuff. But guys, guys and girls, I want to just tell you, it is a tremendous honor to have you both on, Twila, Dave, and Brian. I know that I just met you today, Brian, on the phone. And you know what? I got to tell you, when I spoke to Brian on the phone today, he said to me, whatever you need, I'm coming on, because I told him I wanted to do an educational live stream about the dogs. Will you please come back and talk with us again on maybe some of these other cases that we cover, Brian?
Sure. Absolutely.
And
Anything we can do to help, whether it's a missing person, whether it's advocating for missing person groups and advocating for search and rescue teams. I mean, we're here to do everything we can to help. Kind of like, Dave has his motto, lost is not alone. For us, we have our Bible verse, which is Matthew 18:12. And that says, if a man has 100 sheep, will he not leave the 99 on the hill to go and search for the one? And our homes, our families, our friends, those are our 99. Those are our blessings that we leave on the hill when it's time to go search for the one who is lost.
I love that.
I love it. I love
That's
it.
amazing.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. All right. So Sergeant Mulder is texting me while I'm live, and now I'm getting a super chat from her telling me, Ron, brother, it's on your text. And she's laughing. My phone is up in a holder up here. If I really have to go and grab it, I will look at the text after I'm done here. But thank you for sending me texts while I'm live. That's great. I appreciate that. I love you, Sergeant Melinda. I love you. Again, quickly, so everybody has a great understanding, on the description section down below in this video, there's going to be 2 links. There's going to be one for Brian's organization and for Dave Rader's. If you want to donate to EquuSearch, make sure you donate to EquuSearch Midwest. I'm not saying that Texas EquuSearch isn't a great place to donate, but Tim Miller has instructed me to inform you guys that Dave Rader is active in going out on a couple of different missions right now and can use the support. So if you're going to support, I suggest you use the link that I have linked down below, and please support them. If you want to send doggy treats, that's a bunch of people are sending stuff asking where can they send doggy treats. I think on these websites there are addresses to send doggy treats, right, guys? Brian?
I don't know if I have an address on my website. It is on the info sheet that you posted earlier.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure the address is on that.
All right, so I'll get the address. I'll link it down below after the video is over. I might have to do it tomorrow because it's past my bedtime. So I'll link the address tomorrow, I promise, for Brian, so you could send in doggy treats to him. Dave has been known to eat doggy treats when he gets hungry. So don't send them to Dave because he'll eat them.
He loves salami also, by the way.
So she said that and muted her mic. That was cute. Again, a bunch of people are sending redundant questions about, did Donwell contact you, Dave? Do you want to set the record straight again on that?
Absolutely. We spoke. Like I said, he kind of blasted me on Facebook. 2 days later, he reached out to me, apologized. We had a good heart-to-heart conversation. And then he reached out again, like 3 or 4 days later, and again we had a good conversation. And again, I said some things, I think 1 or 2 people know what happened to Summer, and I'm not pointing any kind of fingers. But as I told him, I said it's just human nature that 99% of any of these kids that's going missing, they're at the hands of the parents or somebody that they know that's within the circle. So I'm not saying that that's what had happened, but again, you have to look at the people that were last seen. But until something tells me something different, again, I'm putting all of that. That's not up for me to decide. That is up for law enforcement to decipher. All I want to get from Don and Candace is what happened, and what's the best case scenario that we can come and find this little girl one way or another. That's my mission. And that's exactly what I told Don. I have no animosity towards the man. I think he's going through a tremendous amount of stress right now, as any parent would. So we have to look at both ends of the spectrum on this. I'm not here to judge. I'm just here to find. We didn't create the scenario. I'm trying to rectify it.
Exactly. And you know what? Again, kudos to you for even having a conversation with Don. And I know why you had the conversation with him, because you want to find his daughter.
Absolutely.
Again, he mistaked you for me. I too had a conversation with Don Wells, and it was a private conversation. I explained to him that all anybody wants to do is find his daughter. And it was a couple of times we spoke on the phone, and again, it was on behalf of EquuSearch as well. It wasn't any way, shape, or form anything with me ever wanting to try to interview him or talk to him. And I won't divulge the contents of the conversation that I had with him. But I will say this, he lashed out at Dave Rader because he thought he was me. I said that the hair on my arm stand up when he told the story, and I stand true to that today. I feel very strongly, and everybody that knows me here knows that I have said that the mother and father, I don't believe their story. I don't feel that their story is legit. I feel that they know exactly what happened to this girl, to their daughter, and they're being less than honest. And I'll stand to that to the end, right to the end. That doesn't mean that it's 100% true. That is just my detective skills coming out and my interviewing. I've interviewed thousands of people over my time, and I know when someone's full of. So that was my take on it. And again, it doesn't take away from what Dave's organization is trying to do. EquuSearch is all about bringing a missing home, and there's nothing to be sugarcoated here. We don't have to coddle anybody. Nobody needs to be coddled. You know who needs to be coddled? Summer Wells. She needs to be brought home, and if she is no longer with us, she needs to be laid to rest properly, not put somewhere in a shallow grave, not put somewhere and hidden somewhere. Whatever happened to her, at the end of it all, these guys are here to bring closure to the family. Brian, I know you're listening patiently. I had muted your mic because there was a little feedback, but I unmuted you now. Again, if you guys want to donate and contribute to both of these organizations, down below in the description, it will be there. An hour and 26 minutes, almost an hour and 30. I hope you guys enjoyed this interactive live stream. Everybody was able to ask questions, whether you gave super chat or not. I didn't acknowledge half of the super chats because I wanted to stay on topic. So understand this. I won't want to break one of my guests' thoughts just because a super chat came in. I appreciate them, and they're all going to be donated between both of these organizations. So if we raised $500 tonight, whatever the number is, minus the 30% that YouTube takes, that's what I will send to both of these guys' organization. And Dave knows this to be true because I'm a man of my word. That's what I do. None of these super chats are for DutyRon. These are all for both of these organizations to help them in the God's work that they do. So if you continue to send super chats or send PayPal donations to me, it's just going to be forwarded to these guys. So again, I don't go and do YouTube to help pay my finances. I do YouTube to help people. And as I say in all of my live streams, it's about the victims and their families. It's about bringing closure. And that's why these guys and girls are in this business. They're in this business to bring people home. Lost is not alone. And as you heard Brian with the quote, what was it, Matthew, right?
Matthew 18:12.
18:12. God bless. All right, guys, as I like to end all of these things, God bless the world, God bless the United States of America, and God bless each and every one of us here in the chat, and all victims of crime and their families across the globe. And I want to say a special God bless to the troops in Afghanistan. They're on a mission. 6,000 of our U.S. servicemen and women are on a mission for peace, to bring the U.S. service and political folks home, and some of the people who were translators for our government. So I want to wish speedy, quick safety to everyone. Bring them home without any casualties. So if you guys can put some flags, American flags, and some prayers in the chat, and I'll leave it there for a moment as we bow our heads for a little bit of a moment of silence.
And wear red on Friday to remember everyone deployed.
There you go. Everybody deployed. Wear red on Friday to remember everyone deployed. So again, I'm just going to bow my head for a quick second. You guys can do whatever you want to do and just say a quick prayer. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. God bless the United States and our armed forces. All right, guys. Again, thank you for taking out the time. I hope you guys will come back again as we will continue to talk about summer wells. Thursday or so, I'm going to try to get together with our drone guy. His name is Gene, right?
Gene Robinson.
Gene Robinson. What a great man. I had an hour-long conversation with him. That's going to be an educational live stream that you're not going to want to miss. All right, guys. Good night from New York, and thank you so much for all everybody's doing here in the chat and for all the support. Good night,
Good night,
Dave.
and thank all your fans for the support. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Brian.
And treat others the way you want to be treated.
Thank you, Twila. Treat others the way you want to be treated. I like it, Twila. I like it. Good night from New York City. We'll talk to you.